Hi.
Hey.
We're back.
Yes.
We're alive.
We are alive. No one got as drunk as I expected.
I know. I think everyone was so like amped and like fired up that alcohol was not even needed to like support.
Okay, here's the thing. I assume that all of Christine's hometown friends like kind of helped Christine get to where she is on the drinking level that she's at.
Oh no, that was a college thing, you see.
And so I was told by several people, like, get the booze ready. I'm going to get hammered.
Who told you this, Renee?
Yeah.
Renee and I were the only ones who took shots.
People, listen, everyone talked the talk. And so I was like, oh, I better buy an entire bar's worth of alcohol. So I did. And guess how much got drank?
Yeah.
Not much.
Okay, here's the thing. I'm not going to bore anybody with the details. We went to Vegas for my bachelorette party. Also, it took us, instead of 4 hours, it took us 10 hours to get there.
Yep.
By the time we get there, we were like so fried and frazzled that like I took some shots with Renee, but it was just like, we were like, we'll drink tomorrow. But then we were gone on the next day, like the whole fucking day.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I feel terrible anyway, so I will make it up to you, I promise. But
No.
It was the best weekend ever. So sorry. I know that was kind of a downer that nobody drank all the
Yeah,
booze.
everyone's kind of confused how it's like the best when you were just like, I don't want to bore people with the details.
No, of the trip I meant.
Oh.
Of the 10-hour fucking
I had a
nightmare.
great time. I got there early. I had a great time with Renata. We were by ourselves for several hours, so I got to know your mom very well.
Yeah, she's
And then everyone else showed up at like 9 o'clock at night on Friday night, and I was like, well, that's a whole day.
To be fair, I left at 10 a.m. To be fair, I sobbed like the whole way there, but we made it finally. Got on a Ferris wheel, got some great photos. Mm-hmm. It was amazing.
We did the high roller.
Yep.
We went to the Gold Spike Playground.
Yep.
Which was my favorite part.
To Le Cave,
Cave.
which was such good brunch, like 10-course brunch.
And oh my God, yeah, that was quite the brunch.
Dude, that I drank a lot there, but that was again outside of the hotel.
It was truly an 18-course meal.
Yeah, it was like unlimited food, but it was all so good.
And then we did Lazy Dog for another brunch.
Yes, that was good. Lisa made a sweet toast. It was really adorable.
She was very nervous too. She wanted to she was like, I don't know how to be emotional. What do I do? And I was like, just give it a shot.
Did I ever tell you about Blaze's grandpa's funeral? She did the eulogy.
Yeah.
And she's like, I was staring at you the whole time, and then you started crying. And I was like, Christine, you were the one person who was supposed to be my rock. And I was like, my bad.
Lisa was very kind and helped us out and got us really wonderful hotel rooms and
stayed at the Venetian. It was beautiful. Thank you,
also
Lisa.
She helped me a lot with checking people in and out because there was some like weird thing where things were under her name, not my name.
Well, people
and so,
spelled your name wrong too.
Yeah.
It was like a whole...
So her and I ended up going back and forth to check out a bunch of times before people got there.
I just remember her screaming, check out at VIP. Check out at VIP. Tell them you're with me. And I'm like, I need to travel with you more often. Somebody recognized Lisa and me and you. Did you see that? Or
no.
Me and Lisa. I don't think you were there, but it was me and Lisa. And my mom goes, did you hear that woman? And I was like, no. And she goes, that woman just said, why are those two together? Like, because I guess recognized Lisa. And then I don't remember. I don't know if you were there or not, but my mom was like, yeah, I stayed back to talk to them. And I guess they recognized Lisa and me and were like so confused why we were in the same place at once. And I was like, why did they say hi to me? Whatever, it doesn't matter. But that happened. So hi to whoever you are.
Hi. We had a great time. I had a great time. I got to go on a date with Allison one of the days.
So cute.
We went ziplining and we went to the Avengers Museum, which I could talk forever about, but I'm not going to.
With just all sorts of swag.
I had a good time.
They went, yeah, the ziplining was great. You guys got adorable photos.
Yes.
Maybe we should mention the Chippendales and then like never talk about it again.
Right, the elephant in the room.
So here's the thing. Lisa, I guess, did like a photo shoot with them a long time ago and was like, oh, don't worry. We looked at our tickets later and they said standard celebrity presidential table. And I was like, oh my. Okay, so we sat at this table way up front. They did the 50 Shades of Grey sequence and we're like, it's your turn to come up on stage. It was really... What was it? I blacked it out. I don't remember it. I completely blacked it out.
Listen, I know. You don't even have to tell me. I know you were the one that had to do it and be on the stage. But I also think as the viewer, I had a worse time. I think
my brother's traumatized for the rest of his life.
Alexander and I were shielding each other's eyes. I consistently screamed, I'm going to vomit for about 5 minutes in a row because I now know everything about my best friend.
Here's the thing. My mom had the best time during that. She and Lisa were like living it up watching that happen. And then after it, I'm not kidding that I completely blacked it out. And my mom goes, my favorite part was blank. My favorite part was blank. And I was like, did this actually happen?
Yeah, everything you could, the worst things.
Renee's like, my favorite part is when he puts his entire arm up your dress. And I was like,
Yeah.
that didn't happen. And everyone's like, yes, it did.
It really fucked me up for the rest of the night. I was in like a really weird mood.
Oh, no.
I was like...
My mom was like, remember when he groped your breasts? I was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh, my God.
I don't remember any of it. And then, of course, Lisa had it professionally videotaped. No one's seeing it, so don't even fucking ask me. But
no, that's... Okay, I swear that will never be seen by the public if you can swear the Sassy the Clown picture
yeah,
never...
absolutely. I swore that a long time ago.
We finally balance out on that.
Okay, you're right. Because, wow, that was
here's
horrifying.
the thing. And I discussed this with Eva when we got back to the room, because Eva and I shared a room. I remember when you first said that we were going to go to Chippendales... We had a conversation where I was like, they're going to like be incredibly naked and rubbing up on you. And you were like, that won't happen. And I was like, okay. And so I like tricked myself into thinking I was wrong. And had I just thought my original thought the entire time, I would have gone in prepared to be like uncomfortable. But you had convinced me that that's not what was going to happen. And then I got in there and I was like, oh no, I should have been afraid all along. And so
apparently when afterward, so I was, you guys, I was literally handcuffed to a wall and then I was spun around and then they like fucking... I had a blindfold on, so I don't know, but it was a wild time.
I wish I did.
But so I guess afterward they like released me. I mean, to be fair, I do want to say like the entire time they were like talking to me in my ear and being like, you're doing great. Like if anything's uncomfortable, let us know. Like they were so...
We don't want to bad talk Chippendales. They asked for consent every step of the way.
I had the greatest time of my life, and so did my mother, so whatever.
Yeah,
but so
Renata was clapping away.
As I was leaving, I guess they basically were like... I was walking down and they were holding my hand and helping me down the stairs. My mom goes, you looked at the audience and just like winked. And I was like, I want to die. That's horrible.
I remember a very specific moment where they choked Christine on stage.
Oh, yes. Oh my God. That scared the shit out of me.
They
put their hand around my throat.
Christine's whole body language, I just remember watching it go from I'm on a stage and I'm scared to this might as well fucking happen. Like I just
was like, this is fun.
I watched the defeat just come over you.
The best line was when they were saying before they turned me around, they're like, so do you have any pets? Where are you from? Like, how's the weather back in LA? Like they were being all friendly. They're like, what's your pet's name? And they're like, okay, sweetie, spread your legs a little wider. And I was like, oh my God, I could die. And they're like, your family's having a great time. Don't stress. Anyway, I had the greatest time. I thought it was so funny and hilarious. Blaze probably didn't find it as funny, and I did not show him the video because he goes, please never show it to me. So that's
I was going to be like a total bro to you and be like, we will never tell Blaze. But apparently we're going to even...
Do you think his Aunt Lisa did not immediately try to force him to watch it?
All I know is I was not even going to bring up Chippendales on the show because
it was so fun.
I know. I didn't know if you were going to tell Blaze or not.
It's like okay. The way my mom keeps saying it is it's a performance, like it's a show. It's not like a real like sexual encounter. Like
that's true.
It was all very show. They didn't when they choked me. They didn't touch my
it was
skin.
super light and
like
all
they
that.
didn't really he put his arm behind me. He didn't put his arm under my. It just looks very.
No, I know.
And my brother also got quite
groped.
Quite an experience. I guess his entire face went directly into the groin of a dancer.
Yep.
And he had a blast. He had a great time. He's like, it was really fun. So I feel like if it's just like a Vegas show, it's fun,
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I had a great time. So let's talk about something else. No, I'm stressed out.
I was going to talk about the main part of the bachelor party.
Oh, the finale? Yeah, that's what I meant. Let's talk about something else in Vegas. I want to continue to always talk about Las Vegas.
That's the thing I wanted to talk about. So take it away.
The thing where last week you were like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right, yeah.
We went under Em's wonderful supervision and brilliant planning. We went to the Zak Bagans Haunted Museum in Las Vegas, Nevada. Mm-hmm. And wow, howie, was that an experience that I was not expecting.
Yeah, it was. I actually felt bad.
I think my heart rate was elevated more there than at Chippendales, and that's saying something.
I think my heart rate was racing very quickly at Chippendales, and it was absolutely like tranquilized in the Zak Bagans because I was very like, it was very dark. It was like kind of
it was like weirdly macabre and upsetting.
Yeah, like I was expecting like just scary ghost stories, and then there was like the Dr. Kevorkian van that
was upsetting.
You could literally like look in and see like where several people like got assisted suicide.
Yeah, it was like a memorial to the people who passed away. It
really fucked me up.
I did not like the room, by the way. I enjoyed the whole thing, but their new room with the serial killer guy and that was too much.
So okay.
I almost left the room. I was like, this is too much.
To be fair, that is nothing compared to the Museum of Death.
So I don't want to do that.
So as I've been saying, you don't want to do it.
I appreciate that. Because
so now you've gotten a taste.
That truly was too much for me.
Every room is like that.
They were
room.
like, there's fecal matter on this from the last person who died
like,
on it.
It's
and I was
clearly
like,
there. Like, you're not missing it. Like,
why would you put this in a museum?
Yeah.
But everything else was like really awesome and great. And even the tour guide was like, I don't like this room. Like, he was uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think everyone was a little emotionally drained after that because it was so... I think everyone went in expecting to be like really hyped up and
goofy,
scared.
Yeah.
And it was truly just so dark. And I left feeling very drained and like it was definitely humbling. It was very humbling.
And
for a haunted museum.
I really liked it. Like, I thought it was a perfect ending to the weekend. I was like, everyone just like had such a weird ending, and then we all got to just sit in the car and go home. Like, I thought it was a really great ending, and I really liked it. I'm gonna be honest, I had a lot of fun. And I did not know that there were jump scares involved.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. So spoiler for you guys, if you guys go, there's like people jump out of you like a haunted, like a.
But it's so bizarre because I don't know what the point of this is, or like they hire little people to like play.
It kind of seemed like a freak show
color to me.
Yeah,
like it was a little off color to me, but
because like there was definitely little people jumping out.
Pretending to be like dolls
and it was really uncomfortable because I felt bad that I screamed and ran away, and it wasn't because they were a little person, it was because it looked like a clown
scared the crap
like
out
a
of
doll
me.
dressed like a clown was running after you, and you didn't expect it because basically they put you in a room with a bunch of dolls, and then all of a sudden one of the dolls is chasing you.
Right.
Like that's why you're scared, but like it makes you feel like a bad person socially afterwards.
It was just a strange thing, and I was like, how did they hire these? Like, it's just such a...
And also, like, they went from jump scares to, like, really dark rooms. And I was like, my emotions are everywhere right now.
Because they had, like, a carnival, like, clown maze where you were being, like a true, like, haunted maze where you're being jumped out of
you
clowns.
go, like, around corners, then people jump out of you. But then you would go into the next room, and there's, like...
Dr. Kevorkian's death fan. You're like, oh, wait.
I think that's why I was emotionally drained, because I just went from, like, really, like, high highs and really low lows very quickly.
But we did, you guys. We saw the fucking Dybbuk box, episode 11.
Not only that, but, like, yeah, we just talked about, like, some of the, like, the outliers about the museum, but, like, there were some dark things and some jump scares, but, like, mainly every room had very scary things in there, and it was interactive, and it was voluntarily interactive, where he would the guide would even say, like, if you're uncomfortable, I'm about to show you something, and if you don't want it to attach to you, or if you don't want to open up, like...
And he'd be really honest. He's like, this is what it is.
And there were some rooms where he was even like, you walk in, I don't go in there anymore. Yeah. I don't go in there anymore. I did like his honesty, where he was like, this room really fucked me up when I first got here. I have seen shit in that room. I don't want to be there. You can go in. And which made it kind of creepier.
It made it creepier, yeah. And I really like the Dybbuk box.
But the Dybbuk box, he said he was incredibly uncomfortable in, and that was the room that changed him, because when he first went there, he was a skeptic, and he was like, I can work here because I don't care and I'm not scared. And then he started working near the Dybbuk box, and he was like, I'm forever a believer. Now, apparently, when they put the Dybbuk box in its display case, it's also surrounded with like 3 inches of salt and dried sage. And it's like the whole box is like sealed up under glass, like
airtight.
Apparently the doors are slowly starting to open on their own.
On the Dybbuk box, yeah.
And like to open the doors, the drawer has to open first, and the drawer got pulled out on its own. The doors are starting to open, and it looks like fingerprints have been in the salt, like playing with the boundary.
You can like see it. It's very weird.
It's very creepy.
And I think the scariest part of that whole room was when he said, oh, we had a psychic medium here, and she told me not to tell her anything, and she walked in, and she like stopped, and she goes, there's a shadow person in that corner. And I was like, and there were like a bunch of our group in that corner, and we were all like, okay, can we leave? Like, that is so fucking upsetting. And that really fucked me up.
He also said that before he knew any of the history of the Dybbuk box, when he went home, he had a really bad dream.
Yeah, like a recurring dream.
About him, like he was in a display case that was also sitting in the same room as the Dybbuk box. As he's sitting in that display case, he watches the other case of the Dybbuk box, and he sees an old hag crawl out of the Dybbuk box, walk over to his display case, and look through the glass at him, and then like look over her shoulder and wave someone over, and it's a dark shadow man.
Yeah.
And he didn't know any of the history of the Dybbuk box, but apparently when he actually heard the history, he realized that there are 2 spirits locked in the Dybbuk box. One is an old hag and one is a shadow man. And he had that dream forever.
Yeah, he had that dream repeatedly.
He also said the demon house that I've talked about before.
Yeah, Gary, Indiana.
They actually like dug up remains from the basement where all that horrible stuff was stemming from. and put it into that room.
They were like, Zak found a portal to another demon world, so he transported it into this. I was like, why would you do that? Get rid of it.
But also, it's the only room that has a crucifix over the door before you go in.
Yeah. Our tour guide would not go in there.
The tour guide, literally, he put his hand on the doorknob and he was like, you can go in here single file if you would like. I do not go in this room. You may enter. And then he swung the door open as far away from his body as possible, and he beelined to the front door.
Yeah. And we were like, why? And he's like, I got scratched in there. We were like, okay.
But he said he got scratched with 3 claw marks and it didn't heal for over a month.
Yeah, no.
And then apparently
he's like, bye, good luck.
And that's also apparently the room that Zak Bagans himself like got hit in the head, and it gave him permanent double vision, and that's why he always wears glasses now.
No, I call bullshit on that. He wants to wear those hipster glasses, and he tries to find an excuse. I'm sorry. This is where my Zak Bagans...
Well,
and then my favorite part is when he goes, the next room is about a genius. And I went, haha, it's me. And my brother goes, it's probably about Zak Bagans. And I was like, oh, right. Absolutely
like,
it is.
We don't want to take away from the fact that this was the most Zak Bagans museum I've ever been to.
Can we please talk about that?
There was this, like... There was this one spot where there's like an intro video before you go into a room. And to be fair, it's before the Kevorkian ban. So it was supposed to be like a very dark
touching
video.
Moment. Right.
It's supposed to be touching. But like in the video where Zak is like telling you what you're about to see, it just sounds like the most Zak Bagans thing. He's just like, we have the van here. And if you saw it on my show on the Travel Channel
at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time,
it was
like,
the
Lord.
most like bro. It sounded kind of like a little bit of, there was a pinch of mansplaining in there.
Oh, for sure. Oh, my favorite part was when they said about so there was like a room where they had relics of celebrities who've passed, and there was like a Patrick Swayze like memorial section, and he goes, and the tour guide is like, Patrick Swayze is Zak's favorite actor. He believes that Ghost is the most accurate depiction of the afterlife. And I clawed my brother's arm so hard trying not to laugh. I was like,
I think the most Zak Bagans thing that happened is we got to the gift shop.
The gift shop, obviously.
And there is a signed poster, because Zak also made a documentary about the Demon House.
Plug called Demon House.
It's called Demon House. I haven't seen it, but I'm sure we're gonna and snort our way through it. So there was posters of his documentary about Demon House, and he had signed them, and apparently he literally signed them yesterday. Like he like the day before.
We missed him by 24 hours, and I wanted to cry.
And so I was like, "Here's Zak Bagans' signature. This is the exact full circle we need for our studio. I'm gonna get Christine.
We gotta frame this shit.
I'm gonna get Christine a framed signature of Zak Bagans' poster.
My dream."
Then I paid for it. It wasn't even paying attention to like how much it cost or anything, and I walked out, and it was a $50 poster because he signed it. Like I looked at the receipt,
I was like,
and it said, oh, poster, $20. And then it was like, signature, $34. And I was like, Christ alive, this is the most Zak Bagans thing I've ever seen in my life.
Truly.
And then I gave it to Christine, and I was like, you better fucking frame this.
And I was like, don't even touch it. We need to get it like professionally.
Don't even breathe on it.
Professionally framed, because we spent way too much. Yeah, so that happened. It was a wild time. And wait, wasn't Eva going to say something?
Yeah, Eva, did you have things to say?
Okay, I could tell you about how I sort of feel nauseous in the Dybbuk room.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear about.
At first, I was kind of being skeptical. And so when I was in the Dybbuk room, and I was like, I was in the corner kind of with the shadow person. And after that happened, I was like, oh, Lord. Okay,
the awkward
great.
Shuffle to the left.
We all just were like, oh, okay, we're going to really obviously. And so then I started feeling, I did actually start feeling a little bit nauseous. Everything in me was trying to be logical about it and was like, my stomach is terrible. Like, I feel nauseous 70% of my life. Like, okay, that's an exaggeration, but a lot of my life. So I was trying to logic it away, but then honestly, the floor felt like it was moving to me. Like, anyway, I put on my motion sickness bands, and it kind of worked. I was like, hey, maybe these are spirit bands too.
You know what? You stayed upright. That's all that matters.
I did. I don't know whether it was a combination of like, far be it from me to disrespect the spirit, because that was the whole thing the tour guide was saying is like, I just respected the spirit and now everything is okay. So I was trying to do like a combo of like, okay, it was maybe my body and maybe my reaction to things. Also, I respect you, box of scariness.
Box of demons, I respect you.
It's like, how can it hurt to be like, I believe you if you make my stomach ache go away? I don't know. It's worth trying.
Exactly.
Oh, and then there was the Peggy doll, which was like one of my favorite parts with it had a spirit box. Actually, this is great. So it had a spirit box, and it kind of, it like cycles through all the
radio.
Yeah, the frequencies. And he's like, yeah, so if you go in like and you want to open up to talk to it, he's like, it's a girl, we call her Peggy, but it's not actually a girl. It's like, we think it's like a possessed doll, like a demonic presence.
Well, because at some point he said like, you can go in and say hi, and Christine was like, okay, I'm getting there. And so
yeah,
he overheard that and went, okay, really quick before anyone like tries anything, And he went, we call her Peggy because it is a female doll, but we do not believe that Peggy is a girl. In fact, Zak believes that whatever is possessing this doll was never human to begin with.
So
and then
he's like-
said, so if you want to go in there and say hi, just be prepared to open yourself up to attaching.
You have to say hi, but if you ask it a question, then you open yourself up to like response. So you're supposed to say hello and goodbye. And so we were like, hello. And then obviously Em and I were both like,
fresh.
Let's not. Oh, good point.
Imagine
what if the spirit box said
that
fresh?
Would have truly been.
Fuck.
We would have had to quit the podcast right there.
We should have gone hello and then seen what happens.
Yeah.
Fuck. We didn't think. Let's go back. Okay.
Eva, write that down.
So we went in there and we were like, hello, Peggy. And then like stared at it because we were like, we're not going to fucking ask it a question. The first thing it goes is Dybbuk. And we were like, oh no, this is right after the Dybbuk box.
It's literally, it shares the wall with the Dybbuk box.
And then Allison goes, should I ask it a question? And it just goes, before Em can even respond, it goes, don't. And we were like,
I literally looked Allison so deep into her, like in her soul, like in her core. And I was like, Allison, you do not fucking say a word.
Dare.
I was like, you need to leave this room and you need to say goodbye. And that woman almost left and didn't say goodbye. I grabbed her arm so damn tight. I was like, you say goodbye right now, Allison. And she went, goodbye.
Peggy, goodbye. Yeah, so then later on, Alexander's girlfriend, by the way, it's her birthday. Happy birthday, Allie.
Happy birthday.
She was asking in the car ride home back to LA, like, she's like, Christine, don't be offended, but like, what the fuck is with the spirit box? Like, I don't get it. What is it, that noise? And I was like, oh, I'll explain it. So basically what it is, and then Renee from like behind her sunglasses just goes, I was like, what it is, and she goes, Zak Bagans with a microphone behind the wall. And I was like, maybe. I can't even argue that. But that just made my day. Anyway, Zak, no hard feelings. We're tight, right? We're cool?
Yeah, he'll just block you again.
He unblocked me, so I feel like I have to be cool again to him.
Uh-huh.
Hi, Zak. Love you like a bro. Lilub. Anyway, that was our Vegas trip. It was the best time of my life. We have so much booze left over, so thanks, Em. Em can't even fucking drink it, which sucks.
Yep.
Otherwise, I would give it to you.
I think you'll get drunk for quite a long time on that.
The best part is, though, I wrote you a note. Remind me to give it to you.
You wrote me a note?
Yeah, like a thank you card.
Like a love note.
Like a love note.
Aw.
But the best part is that now I'm just like planning, if you have a bachelor party, to just like,
it's gonna get fucking weird.
Like, I know I can't top it, but like I'm gonna try so hard.
I made Christine like her own labels.
I forgot to even describe. Like, there was like a photo booth section in the fucking Venetian suite. There was like all the champagne bottles had Blaze's my picture on them. There was a banner and it said Christine gets Blaze, which is our hashtag. There was like a banner that said same penis forever that I took 8,000 photos of and kept texting Blaze, and he's like, you've already sent this to me 3 times. Sorry, I don't know what else you want me to say. Like banners with our photos on them.
The lipstick thing.
Oh my god, they made me this like photo of us with like a mat under the frame, and it had everybody like wrote sweet notes with different colored lipstick on it. It was just the most, I mean, I've never been so overwhelmed in my whole life. I just have been the last 3 days texting my mom like, remember this thing? I was like, remember the giant diamond engagement rings that were also shot glasses? She's like, yes, yes, Christine, I do. And I was like, I took 6 shots out of those. And she's like, I'm so happy for you. Go to work. But it was the best weekend ever. And we got sashes. I just want to say, I feel like I never thought that somebody would like do something like that for me. And so I'm not going to harp on it because I'm going to get emotional. But thank you. And I loved it very much. And it was very special to me. And all my favorite people were there. And that's all.
Yes.
So I love you.
I love you.
Anyway.
You want to hear about Peggy the doll?
No! Are you serious right now? Fuck. Oh my god. Okay.
That's why, because I know your shitty ass, you always sneak a peek at my names on my papers.
It's only because you put them in bold on the top
so
of
I
both.
put it as an acronym, PTD, Peggy the doll.
I want to tell you a little bit about Ritual.
Yes.
Okay, Ritual is my new favorite thing. It is a vitamin. So I need vitamin D. I've always been pretty low it runs in my family, and Ritual is the first vitamin that I actually remember to take. And I've been taking it actually for 2 months now, and I'm already noticing a difference. I feel a lot better and more in control of my health, and I actually really love it.
Oh, good.
So Ritual is vegan, sugar-free, non-GMO, gluten-free, and allergen-free.
Love it.
Made in the USA without synthetic fillers or colorants.
USA.
Their delayed release capsule bypasses the stomach to help prevent nausea, which is great because some vitamins I do take and they really upset my tummy.
Right, they make you real sick feeling.
My poor little tum-tum can't handle it.
Here's the other thing that I like about them is they're mint scented instead of like shitty vitamin scented.
You know when they're kind of like fish oily scented or something? They're like,
when they
bleh.
just smell like the exact opposite of what you want to put in your mouth. Yep. But these are mint, and you definitely want to put mint in your
It's like pure
mouth.
peppermint oil. They're really lovely smelling.
Yes.
If you guys visit their website, you'll learn everything from why each ingredient is beneficial to where it's sourced, which is awesome.
And they're subscription based,
Yeah.
so there's no gap in nutrient levels, and they are $30 a month and delivered to your door, which is the best part.
And buying the omega-3 that's in them yourself is the cost of an entire Ritual bottle, so you're better off getting a delivery that has so many more benefits for you.
It's also beneficial in filling the gaps in your diet with the best sourced ingredients.
And if you forget a few days and you want to kind of hit pause, you can snooze your order until you catch up.
95% of women do not get the vitamins and minerals that they need on a daily basis, and Ritual has created a smarter vitamin with the 9 essential ingredients that women lack most.
So guys, go to ritual.com/drink. Choose clean ingredients backed by science.
Sign up now at ritual.com/drink. Christine, let's talk about penises.
We did go to Vegas last week, so sure, let's do it.
You know, for Chippendales, I think this is the time to talk about Hims.
This is for you, Chippendales.
So Hims is a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, sexual wellness, and it's all for men.
You listening, Chips?
I guarantee some of them use Hims.
They probably do.
So
It's good for you.
So many guys don't want to go to the doctor and they don't want to talk to medical professionals face to face. But with Hims, there's no waiting room, there's no awkward doctor visits, there's no lines, and you can save hours by going to forhims.com.
Yeah, so a lot of guys, for example, might have sexual performance issues, and it's more common than you think. They don't want to talk to a doctor face-to-face. Maybe they're embarrassed. Maybe they're uncomfortable. And actually, over 25% of new ED cases are guys under 40. So this is more common than you think.
Yeah, it's not just an issue for, like, rich old guys in bathtubs anymore.
I mean, not anymore. Not the good old days anymore.
Now everyone's affected.
Everyone's affected.
Basically, Hims has well-known generic equivalents to name brand prescriptions to help you combat ED.
That's really cool.
So there's no snake oil pills or gas station counter supplements. There are prescription solutions backed by science.
Hard made easy. I didn't make that up. It says it. Say hello to your little friend. Okay.
Here, you want to hear what else? It's erectile without the dysfunction.
Does it say that? That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I like that. It's a great tagline. Hims, you should use that as your tagline.
So anyway, guys, if you're listening and you would like to try Hims, then you can try Hims for a month today for just $5. And we'll get you started for just $5 while supplies last. See the website for details. This would cost hundreds if you went to a doctor or a pharmacy.
Go to forhims.com/ATWWDED.
ED! Oh, my favorite promo code yet.
That's forhims.com/ATWWDED. Forhims.com/ATWWDED. Can I get more wine?
Can you get more wine?
Okay, I just need some more. Oh, uh-oh.
There's like a blood stain now on the table.
Here's the thing. I didn't drink enough in Vegas.
So, Eva just said like, oh, I'm really excited about like getting to hear about her. And then was like, oh, it? Oh, them? And so basically, to all the people still wondering why gender neutral pronouns are useful, it's for demons. So
It's for demons and Em.
that way you can, that way you could say, oh, I'm excited to hear about Peggy, not knowing what gender
Because Em is a demon.
the demon. Oh, yep. Yes, I'm a demon. But so I was very excited that you brought up Peggy all on your own. Then I was like, oh boy.
I wanted to shout about it loudly. I'm glad I get more chances to do that.
Also, I like to think that how I was saying that the energy really like fucked me up. Like after the museum, like I was just like in this weird mood. Like I feel like everyone's energy was in like a million different places.
Yes.
Apparently, one of the things that Peggy does is tries to make you very ill and very depressed
That's so mean.
and drag your energy super down and try to like harm you. And on my drive back, I drove back from Vegas by myself and I was like relatively awake for the entire day. And then when I got in my car, it like hit me like a ton of bricks and I like was doing like the nodding off thing while I was
dangerous,
driving. I know. I had to like pull over, but I'm pretty sure it was Peggy.
Oh,
I'm going to blame it on Peggy.
I was just screaming like some Flemish music on the way home, but
Oh, well.
maybe I'm
We're two different
maybe
people.
I have a stronger spiritual barrier, you know?
Right. Yes. Yes.
Okay, I feel like now I'm just going to get fucking haunted for saying shit like that.
Well, we'll find out.
Let's find out.
So, okay. So here is what I could find about Peggy the doll.
Peggy, by the way, you guys, is so creepy looking. She's like a creepy fucking possessed doll.
I'm not going to say anything and you'll find out why.
Oh shit, I just insulted.
Just say sorry.
I'm sorry, why do you have that? Why is there an EMF reader on the table?
Truly, it's not. It has nothing to do with this. I literally just found it over there, and I was like, "Wait, just see what happens."
M. Schultz, what is this?
It's an EMF reader.
Why are you doing this?
I just want to see if it does anything.
Great, glad. And then I have to sleep 10 feet away. Our Father. Okay,
like Peggy from the Big Box.
Get out of here.
So, okay. So the owner. This really means nothing. I feel like this looks like I'm setting it up for something, but I just found it.
No, let's just do it, and then Eva, tell us if it goes red. Eva, your job is to stare at it the whole time.
Eva, your job is to blood-curdlingly scream if you see anything.
Or she's just gonna, guys.
Yeah, poor Eva's gonna
and
go.
And then we're gonna fucking scream because we're monsters.
All right. So, Jane Harris, Jane with a Y, in case anyone wants to know. Jayne.
Yayny.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Nailed it.
I'm really sorry. Keep going.
2 words in, and Christine's got it.
Hey, I spelled wine all over. Look at this.
Oh, wow. It looks like blood.
Good.
So Jane Harris, she grew up like surrounded in like paranormal, in the world of paranormal. Her parents talked about it frequently all the time. As I was like reading about Jane Harris, I was like, oh, these are my children. Because like...
You're like, they're going to go through all
They're going to be
this.
like, what did you do when you were growing up? And I'll be like, I talked about ghosts, so I'm going to keep doing it. So
Ouija boards.
You're going to turn into Jane Harris.
Game night is just Ouija board.
So apparently she just grew up with the paranormal always like a regular thing. In the year 2000, Jane's cousin Kelly passed away, and she started studying spirit attachment after that. So she got into it on her own at that point. And she created a company called HD Paranormal, which stands for Haunted Dolls Paranormal.
What?
And her company helps those who think they have a possessed doll, where they gather evidence, have access to mediums and things like that to try to rid the energy from the dolls.
I want you to know that one of the Robert the dolls someone sent us is directly above your shoulder, and it is deeply upsetting me right now.
Also, let's also talk about how, did you experience anything at the museum? Because in the puppet room, I literally watched a puppet move by itself, and nobody else seemed to notice.
And it wasn't a little person they hired to move.
No, it was actually like a puppet on strings. It like literally lifted its own head and it
moving.
stared at me.
No, the strings were moving.
Okay. I was like, that fucking... And it was a clown. And I was like, oh, fucking course. This is going to be a clown
And then
puppet.
he goes, that's the only clown you'll see all day. And then there were fucking 8,000 clowns. But no, they were like on like slow automated strings.
Okay. I was like, I swear to God, I'm watching a clown haunt me. And this is just the most full circle thing I've ever seen.
Oh my God, no, I promise. I promise.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Can you imagine though?
No.
It's like, I know your past.
I mean, I can't imagine because I just thought it
Because you
happened.
thought it. Okay, glad we cleared that up.
So Jane runs HD Paranormal. She also wrote a book, which I'm going to plug, called What Dwells Within, which is her most memorable paranormal encounters. So she's been doing her own paranormal investigations for like 18 years.
Okay.
She got Peggy when she received a large package in the mail with Peggy in it and a note. And the note was from the former owner that said the doll's name was Peggy. She was causing horrible things to happen to her throughout the night.
Oh, no.
The owner had this like deep feeling that she knew that the doll was somehow related because she would have horrible nightmares. She would wake up and she would have sleep paralysis.
Oh, fuck.
And she was always thinking about the doll. She couldn't get the doll out of her head. She never saw the doll during her sleep paralysis, but she knew that somehow the doll was involved.
That freaks me out so badly.
So she knew something was going on. She tried to put the doll in different rooms, and it just got worse and worse. And so she called the priest, and the doll was cleansed and blessed twice.
Okay.
Keep in mind, this is a doll we all just saw like 48 hours ago.
It's actually like deeply traumatizing.
It was staring at us recently.
And like talking to us through a spirit box.
Yes.
Unless
it said
that was Zak
Dybbuk,
Bagans.
and then it literally told my girlfriend to not ask it a question.
Don't.
Don't.
It was actually quite scary.
And then I mirrored that exact same response, and I was like, Allison, get the fuck out
You're
of this
like,
room.
Peggy is right.
I was like, shh, just listen to her. Oh yeah, so the priest blessed the doll twice, and problems got worse. She started getting sick and began hallucinating, and this becomes a regular thing in the story. And I want to give a warning that apparently one of her things is she actively makes people sick and not feel good.
Oh my God.
I want to, like, to anyone who is looking at a video or listening or hearing about her, anything like that, has any interaction with the knowledge of her. So I'd like to give a further warning that, like, if you start feeling sick or something, just turn off this.
It's M's fault. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I just don't want to.
Wait, do you think that's why I got a cold sore when I got back to LA?
Well, I can't tell you. I
got a pretty gnarly cold sore.
I'm telling you, like, I'm feeling really fucking nauseous right now.
Oh, I'm feeling great.
Okay.
Except for my cold sore.
Well, I'm sorry
I'm
about your
sorry.
cold
I
sore.
keep joking about Peggy, and I feel like it's going to kick me in the ass.
I don't know. We'll find out. But basically, like, anyone who talks about Peggy or listens about Peggy...
What the fuck, Em?
Listen, I'm sorry. But, like, as I'm talking about it, I'm getting really fucking nauseous. So it's interesting that that's happening. But I think I've also just, like, placebo affected myself.
I mean, I feel like that's very likely, but we'll hope that's what it is. Knock on wood.
So in 2015, Jane and her investigation team began studying the doll. And because they were studying it and they didn't have a lot of information to go off of except for that one note,
right?
She posted some pictures and videos of the doll on YouTube and asked others, like, hey, do you have any background information? Do you recognize this doll? And while working with Peggy, Jane noticed herself feeling very drained and nauseous whenever she was around the doll. And she was like, oh, maybe, like, she just kept shrugging it off. Well, apparently, after only 24 hours of posting the pictures and the videos, over 80 people wrote in saying that after viewing Peggy, they had chest pains, nausea, and migraines.
Oh my God.
Some also reported having visions of mental institutions and unethical medical treatments.
That's worse. I'd rather have a migraine. That sounds awful. Terrifying.
So this is over 80 people in 24 hours all saying, just looking at this doll made me sick to my fucking stomach.
And I will say there are a lot of these weird doll videos on the internet. So
yeah, so before you, like, go look at pictures of this doll, just... That's why I left the warning, because, like, anyone who somehow has a distant reaction, somehow, like, a lot of people don't feel well after the fact. And hence my nausea right now, but I think I might have just, like, tricked myself into
direct all angry emails at M.
No. No. So Jane more recently actually said it was 80 people in the first 24 hours, but now it has been over 200 people have come forward saying that Peggy caused them health problems. One woman actually also had a heart attack within minutes of viewing the YouTube video, and she was healthy enough, never had any health problems. She looked at the YouTube video of Peggy and went to cardiac arrest 2 minutes later.
What? Why did that guy let us... No wonder we signed so many waivers.
Yeah. So Peggy can also show up in dreams and predict tragedies. No. So people think, like, if she's predicting the tragedy, is she warning you of a tragedy, or is she showing you that she's going to do this to you?
She's like, haha, look.
Yeah. So, for example, one person saw pictures of Peggy online, felt really sick all day, so she went to bed early, and she dreamt that Peggy was there petting one of her cats, and the next day in real life, her cat died.
Oh my God. No, Em, no. Leave Junie alone.
So, several people have sent in messages saying that the doll was making them sick, and this was before there were any, like, news articles about it. So all these people were not aware of everyone else's reports. It's not like these people were just, like, jumping on a bandwagon.
Oh my God.
These people, without knowledge of everyone else, were saying, hey, like, I looked at your doll and then this shit happened.
Fuck you.
So other reports that were very common, and also they had no knowledge of each other, is that just looking at the picture would make their computers freeze, rooms would go cold, and light bulbs in the house would blow out whenever they mentioned the name of the doll.
Like we have done 400 times.
One thought about Peggy is that, one person thought about Peggy, and as she thought about Peggy in her own home, her lights dimmed on and off and up and down, like dimmed up and down, but there was no dimmer switch, which is something that he mentioned at the museum.
Yeah.
And she, as soon as the lights dimmed all the way down, very slowly, by the way, like slowly went dark, so she knew what was happening.
Fantastic.
All of a sudden, she felt someone was in the room with her, behind her, and she could hear them moving around in her house.
Oh my God.
She messaged Jane as it was happening because she knew she was alone and she had heard that there was some paranormal stuff about it. So she emailed Jane, and at the exact same time this is happening, Jane gets the email, grabs Peggy from the other room, puts her downstairs in an empty room, and demands Peggy to stop bothering people. Like, across the country or something. Like, Jane's like, oh, I hear you're fucking with this person.
Stop
like,
it.
Arkansas, don't stop it.
Leave Arkansas alone.
And so apparently after she said stop, right away the room lighting got really, really bright and then faded back to normal lighting, and the feeling of someone there had left.
Well, at least that's good.
5 psychic mediums, all individually, have met Peggy and said that the spirit in the doll was restless and frustrated and had been persecuted in life.
Oh, that's
On
sad.
separate occasions, mediums have said that there is both a male and a female around this doll.
Oh.
So truly gender neutral.
So they, them, got it.
And the female spirit in the body gave the doll the name Peggy. And the male, according to the mediums, will never step forward to talk, but his energy is the one that is felt, and it is dark and nasty.
Just got chills.
And it's believed that he is responsible for the string of negative experiences that people have reported. Mediums have also found that Peggy is possessed by a spirit of a woman that was born in 1946 in London, and she died of chest-related conditions, probably an asthma attack. And other mediums have also said that she could have been Jewish or had ties to the Holocaust. You know what automatic writing is?
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of automatic writing sessions on her where...
Should we explain?
You want to explain it? I know you're probably better at that.
Probably not. You basically open yourself up as a channel for either spirit... I mean, I've only done it with spirit guides, but you can also have like non-human entities that you kind of let write through you as a form of communication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
so into like a
and
meditative state.
And then you look at the notepad later and see what you wrote.
Right.
So there have been a lot of automatic writing sessions with Peggy, and the first one that they did was right after a different medium had said, oh, she might be Jewish and she might have ties to the Holocaust. So then they did an automatic writing session, and a different medium on a different day got the words Star and David.
Whoa. And she didn't know.
And she didn't know.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting. That's similar to the Dybbuk box, which is also Holocaust related.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Jane also felt that Peggy had demonstrated a dislike of the cross necklace that her former owner had put around her.
Oh,
so either she's a Jew or a demon. Or both. I mean, I'm both.
I was going to say, I'm not in any position to respond to that whatsoever.
Well, no, but they said like, okay, so like Star of David, maybe that's why you hate the cross. Or maybe it's because you just have an aversion to religion altogether.
Sure, but also
they don't know
like,
which one.
If you're being persecuted by Christians,
right.
Sure, maybe you don't
Fair.
like the cross either. Sure, makes sense.
Makes sense. So, also the mediums on their own sensed that the woman spirit in the doll had an intense aversion to, of course, clowns. Because
what? They have that freaking thing in a giant house full of clowns.
I know.
Great.
In her own room upstairs, though.
At least she has her own little suite there.
In 2015, during a session with Peggy, Jane actually got scratched by 3 claws, and a Catholic priest came over and said, use holy water weekly and recite the prayer of St. Michael the Archangel. Some say that the 3 scratches is a sign of a demonic presence and mocks the Holy Trinity. Oh. Which would make sense because several mediums suggested the aversion to religion, which would also make sense to her hating the crucifix.
And didn't Michael say he got 3 scratches in the demon house room?
Yeah. Yep.
Great. Good.
So during one session, investigation, a woman in a totally different area became personally involved in the conversation, and like of an automatic writing conversation. So she was on the other side of the world and somehow got involved in this session that was happening on the other side of the world.
Like online?
I'll show you. I'll explain.
Okay.
So I don't know where this was, so I just wrote elsewhere in the world. Elsewhere in the world.
Across the 7 seas.
There's among the stars, there's a girl named Lindy, and she saw Peggy online for the first time. Sorry, I know what this was.
What?
It was like dirt or something, but it landed, and I was like, is that a fucking fly? And I was about to think that this was some demonic shit.
No.
I was like, and we're done. Okay, so anyway, Lindy saw Peggy online for the first time. So this is on the other side of the world among the stars. She's sitting on her couch. Her couch among the stars. And she is online and sees Peggy for the first time, and she said out loud something you just said. She looks really creepy.
Oops.
And so...
Oh, no. Why did I do that?
As she said that, Lindy's dog began to snarl at the corner of the room.
Geo, stay away.
And started showing his teeth and grimacing, and like the hair on his back was all standing up like he was like ready to attack something in the corner of the room.
That's actually so scary.
Lindy felt that someone was definitely there and also heard a child laugh in her empty apartment.
Fantastic.
And apologized out loud for calling Peggy creepy.
It's a really sensitive doll.
And so immediately the dog stopped barking and was totally fine.
Oh, great, good.
Lindy shrugged it off, and then since she was already on that page, she also watched the video of Peggy.
No, now you gotta stop.
And felt the urge out of nowhere to have a conversation that she'd been putting off for a while with her daughter, Her daughter had been struggling from mental illness and it had been causing a lot of tension. And she had been afraid to start the conversation and didn't really know what to say. But after watching this video of Peggy, something just overcame her where she had like no fear. There was like, she said it was like energy less. Like there was no emotion in the room. Like she just like felt the need to like finish a task.
Do it.
Yeah.
Sure.
So she had been putting off that conversation, but she suddenly wanted to talk to her daughter about it. She told her daughter specifically, I want an explanation and I want to explain myself. And after everything in their recent history, she also said, I'm drawing the line and getting you help. So those are the two things, the two sentences that she said. At the same time, on the other side of the world was an automatic writing session with the actual Peggy doll. And the things that came out scribbled on a note were Lindy, girl, explanation, and draw a line.
What the
at the exact same time.
frick?
The only reason that she found that out is because later that night after the conversation, her like computer had been like sleep mode and she realized that tab was still open and it was like a page following Peggy.
I'm losing my
So
mind.
she like saw like an updated post and it was a picture. It said like, we did an automatic writing session tonight and like this is what we found. And those are the only words on the notepad. So she found out like through Facebook that Peggy on the other side of the country was actually at her place and then relaying the information in a session.
Like through the fucking computer. I don't like this.
So Jane...
Don't Google this, people.
So
everyone's like, who has Googled it is like, Eva, did you Google it? Eva, god damn it! Eva, Google
burn
it.
the laptop.
Eva!
So...
What if Eva brought... Okay.
Eva,
sorry.
you're fired.
Eva.
In advance.
If I get another fucking cold sore tomorrow, you are so gone.
So Jane kept a log of all the evidence and experiences that happened while Peggy was in her ownership.
Okay.
Which lasted 2 years. And they found, Eva was in their house. While Peggy...
Oh no, she's becoming Eva.
While Peggy was in their house, they experienced EVPs, mysterious shadows, strange light anomalies, unexplainable numbers of deaths amongst animals, EMF readings, witness testimonies, chairs shaking during group seances, insect infestation, physical scratches, specific messages related to individuals, which is like what Lindy just went through.
Right.
Night terrors, disembodied footsteps, extreme changes in temperature, pets reacting aggressively, and continued reports of health concerns. That whole list I read verbatim off of a website. I don't want anyone thinking I plagiarized. That was like an exact list of everything, and I was like, I'm not changing it. So, in case anyone's like following along on
stole
Google,
a list off the internet.
I don't want them to be like, you didn't make that up. And it's like, I know.
Well, you shouldn't have made that up. It's probably a good thing you
That's
got
true.
it off
Okay,
the
this
internet.
is just fact.
It's facts, people. Get it together.
So in one other automatic writing session with Peggy, Jane says that the pendulum started going crazy on its own. She couldn't even keep up and write down everything that she needed to.
Oh, I should have got my pendulum.
And Jane tried to take lots of notes. She was scribbling really fast, and she was excited after the fact to read back on everything that was said, but she got really tired, went to sleep, came back the next day, and the notebook was gone.
Oh.
Peggy was still sitting in the same spot that she was the night before, but she was kind of shifted.
No.
And the notebook was now in the basement on top of an exposed beam on the ceiling.
What?
As if someone tried to hide the notebook.
In a very specifically out of the way place.
Jane had to get her husband on a ladder to get the notebook.
That's so creepy.
So it's not like someone sleepwalked and like put it there. It's like you have to actually... Oh, no.
So many believe that Peggy did not want Jane to tell others the notes that she had taken during the session. So over time, we have discovered that Peggy hates people asking questions about her. Hates people. So when you're taking notes about her...
So when Michael is like, hey, ask her some questions. It's like, hold on. I'm glad we didn't.
It's like, oh, Michael, you are just trying to set us up for
Even
disaster.
you and I were just like usually I'm like, no, it's fun. We'll try it. But I was like,
I remember looking
won't.
you in the eyes and I was like, do we do this or not? And then both of us were like, okay, no, we don't.
We were like, looked at each other like, absolutely not.
As I said, like, do we do this? All of a sudden, she said, Dybbuk. And we were like, okay, she knows where we were. Never
End
mind.
of conversation.
So basically, she hates people trying to figure out where she came from, what her deal was. Which also makes sense because when they, like, in the beginning posted a video saying, like, hey, does anyone have any information? Everyone that even got to look at her for 5 seconds got ill. Like, she doesn't want anyone knowing anything about her. Quite the defense mechanism. Wish I had that.
Just like force people to feel sick in front of you. Sounds great.
So in 2016, Jane carried Peggy like a baby doll.
Cute.
And carried her into the Zak Bagans Museum, and they were featured on the Zak Bagans Deadly Possessions.
I have a gift and a curse.
And glasses.
And I am Zak Bagans.
And acid wash jeans. And $50 signatures.
My signature is worth millions, but I'll give it to you for $50.
$34.99 to be exact.
Because I am possessed and I live a difficult life.
So during interviewing on Deadly Possessions, which I watched the whole episode, you can find this online. During interviewing, Jane originally walked in with Peggy with a bag over the doll's head.
But that seems ominous as fuck.
Well, because anytime anyone looks at Peggy, she gets sick.
They vomit.
And she knew that, like, this doll's about to be on camera.
She's like, if Zak vomits on his $80 bedazzled shirt, we're all going to be in big trouble.
You said it, not me.
I'm sorry. I love you, Zak. I'm sorry. I love you so much that I hate you. Does that make sense? No.
It's like the Michael Scott syndrome. You want him to fear how much you love him.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He rejected me a long time ago. Oh, here comes the police now. God
It's literally
damn it.
Zak Bagans.
What
is
have
like,
I done?
My personal ambulance has driven from Vegas at the speed of light.
I got a sense that something was amiss and I was being spoken of in a negative way.
Anyway, so Peggy has a hood on her
I love Zak Bagans
face.
and I can't. I love him so much. I hate him. Okay, go on.
Zak Bagans. Okay. On Deadly Possessions,
Help me.
Jane brought Peggy on with a bag over her head. Zak literally says, "What's with the bag?" And, and Jane is like, anyone that looks at this doll has a risk of either, having a migraine or having cardiac arrest. So, like,
Oh, fuck.
well, you knew this in
So
the
he's
story.
like, put this on display.
Well, so he was like, "Oh, I'm glad you put the fucking bag on, so our audience doesn't like accidentally get sick." And so then he like, you can see him questioning like, I'm curious, like I want to see the doll, but with a warning like that, I don't know if I should show it on camera. So they don't take the hood off of the doll right away. They just kind of have an interview while they can still look at each other and nothing's going on.
It's just the face of the doll that messes people up.
Yeah, it's like looking into the doll's eyes essentially.
Sure. Okay.
But so he's just currently talking to Jane with the doll on her lap. And Zak begins asking questions, which we know Peggy hates. And so as this is happening, while the face is still covered, swarms of flies start manifesting out of nowhere and only on Zak and no one else. And you can see it happening. Like I watched it happen.
What the fuck?
Granted, there's movie magic. You can get like a fucking like animal trainer in there with some fucking flies and throw them at Zak. I get it.
I train
But,
flies.
like, well, I don't know who does it. I would imagine an animal trainer is involved with like living creatures.
I'm a fly trainer.
And so, but like you could definitely tell that like he's
That's
the only
crazy.
one, and you can see like the flies hitting his forehead, and he's like swatting them. Like he didn't plan that. I'm
Right.
thinking. So swarms of flies show up out of nowhere. They're not bothering anybody. They're truly just only on him. So unless they like dunked his shiny, greasy hair in sugar water first,
It's entirely possible, but yes, I agree. That's really creepy.
So then Zak is saying that, he's curious. He wants to see Peggy's face and show the audience. And then the video feed on his camera alone shuts down and won't turn back on.
What?
The video feed on the camera facing Zak goes black while all other feeds are not messed with and the camera did not stop recording. And they were all through the same like plug, like all the wires are crossed over. So like they should have all shut off, but only the one on a close up of Zak goes out. And so either Peggy doesn't want people to see her and shuts off the feed of the person that might be responsible for that, or she was implying that she was pissed at Zak by taking him off the camera and no one else, which could mean like, oh, like instead of like turning off the camera, it's like, oh, I'm gonna like fuck, like it's like a threat,
Like cut you off from...
Yeah.
Well, and also with the flies, that makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
so-
targeting you.
yeah. So
Sure.
they were like, he was asking questions. Now there's flies on him, and his feed gets taken off.
Oh no, did they get on his new glasses? Don't sigh at me.
So anyway, okay. So Zak decides that he wants to see Peggy, but he actually makes a content warning, much like I just did, because I want to be Zak Bagans. And
Me too, let's be real.
and it's the first and only content warning for a show that viewers might get sick or die from paranormal experiences.
You might die. But truly, I'm not even kidding, when we went to this museum, Renee, who's in law school, was just like, I'm not fucking saying this. It's as if I die, it's not their fault. And I was like, yeah, that's a little sketch. It's like, if you die from paranormal exposure, we didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like Comic Sans. It's not really Comic Sans, but
You just wish it was.
it seems pretty much like that.
So it was the first paranormal content warning on TV.
That's
they did
wild.
take the hood off of the doll. And to be fair, like all three of us were in that room. That thing, did you go in the room?
I didn't go
Even didn't go in.
Eva's smart.
Eva's
okay.
Eva's a little bitch. No.
Eva just fucking Googled it in our studio. She goes, I'm not going to look at it in person, but I'll bring it here.
Yeah, bring it in. But no, so we went in like, whether maybe it's because we're just like diehard believers and so we're like more prone to it.
I was like, I don't want to like,
but it's super creepy.
it is the beyond. I mean, did you see the photo?
I actually didn't look it up.
It's also
I
creepy
just
the
keep
way they
screaming at her. She didn't even look.
It's also creepy that it's the way that it's set up, the way that's decorated in there. It's incredibly empty except for you and her across the hall, across the room, and you hear the sound of like a constant spirit box.
It's a spirit box, so it's like
it's really jolting.
feedback and like what do you call it? Static and what's the frequency? Radio frequencies.
Yeah,
just like
it's just really jarring.
And it's like her. And she's a big ass doll.
Yeah.
It's a good thing, Peggy. Don't be mad.
Yeah, thick is in.
Thick is in. She's a thick doll.
So,
Oh boy.
oh boy.
Oh boy. That's
So
the title for the episode.
After he saw her face, he had to take a break from filming. He stops the producers from filming because he had to get violently sick. And then he got so angry that he started trying to punch the walls of his own building that we just were in. And you can hear him saying, "I want to kill everyone." He ended up sitting down. He calmed down. He went outside. He took a minute. He
Fed some birds. He took a breath.
He readjusted his glasses.
Had a cigarette.
And he ended up interviewing not just Jane with the doll, but he came back in and also interviewed the woman who had a heart attack from the video. And she broke down in tears, and she said that it still haunts her every day, and whenever she thinks about it, she can feel Peggy staring into the back of her eyes.
Oh, the back of her eyes?
Yes.
So she's like in her brain?
I guess like in her head.
Yuck.
Yeah. And I mean, in the show, she said, "It still haunts me every day, and I can feel Peggy is always watching me." But then in another interview, I got the eye comment, and I was like, "Ooh, that one's juicier."
Yeah,
So I kept that.
way creepier.
So then they decided to do a seance on the show, and the chairs started to shake, and you could see a chair rattling by itself. There was a typewriter in the background. You can hear it typing all on its own, and the candles began to flicker violently one by one. So like if there's a row of candles, they in theory should all look the same or flicker the same speed.
Right.
But one at a time, like this one will go really crazy, and then this one over here go really crazy, and then the one in the middle will go really crazy.
Yeah, no, that's
like
not a
something
thing.
was like moving them individually. In a session, Alice was used. Alice is a it's kind of like the Ovilus spirit box. It's a software program though. It's instead of like this, it's like on your computer.
Doesn't it talk like a robotic voice or something?
Yeah, and like the words actually show up. It's the same kind of concept in that there's a dictionary built in, and it reads
Yeah.
through the waves and then like shows you what
But it's
saying.
like a more robotic voice than like
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's also like one of the better software programs out there, and it starts with like 10,000 words in its database, and then you can like
get it.
I would love to, but it only goes off of PCs.
What the fuck?
I've already looked into it.
That's computerist.
And so basically using Alice, they decided that they were going to get an Alice, and they were going to set up the spirit box. And the very first word that showed up in the room with the doll, they started the software. The very first word that comes out is Peggy.
Ah!
Of 10,000 words, Peggy's the first one that comes
The
out.
fuck?
In 2017, after the Deadly Possessions has aired, Zak purchased Peggy from Jane, and she now lives in Vegas in his haunted museum, which we know. She has
I thought you meant Jane. I was like, where?
purchased Peggy from Jane.
No, I thought Jane lives in the museum.
No.
Okay, got it.
Oh my
Phew.
God.
That would have been. I was like, was she
And-
the person who jumped out at me in the
There
clown
it is.
section? No, okay.
And so Peggy now lives in Vegas in the haunted museum that we just saw.
Yes.
She has her own room with a 24/7 spirit box feed being recorded to catch anything she says, whether she's with people or alone. And guests who meet her, as we already talked about, are warned that she may look like a girl, but Zak believes something never human to begin with possesses the doll. And you are warned that you will feel ill near her, and you must say hello and goodbye to close off any
Sure.
attachment. My favorite story that I heard about Peggy while we were at the museum is I asked our tour guide when I got downstairs, what are some of the things you've heard come out of the spirit box to people? And his favorite one is that like there was like a real dick of a guest that
He
came in
called
who was
him-
like mocking the ghosts and all that, and was saying like, oh, you don't scare me, you don't scare me. Went into Peggy's room, and apparently his thing is he's never allowed to be mean to
Called
the
him
guests.
a jagoff.
Yeah, he called them a jagoff. He said like he's not allowed to like entirely be mean to them, and he was like, look, if the entities want to do something, that's fine, but I'm not allowed to. So I usually just like leave it up to the spirits if they want to defend themselves.
Right.
So this
It's
guy,
not his problem.
so this guy went into the Peggy room and was like, "Oh, you can't scare me. You can't scare me." And so like a spirit box feed is really jarring and really loud and like really does not stop for anything. And he heard the spirit box stop making interference noises and then in a distorted voice go, "I'm going to kill you," and then go back to the spirit box sound.
God! Yeah, he was like, I usually only hear one word at a time, and then it just went, "I'm going to kill you." And then the entire ride back to Los Angeles, Renee just kept turning to me with her sunglasses on and going, "I'm going to kill you." And I was like, that's not funny. But then we passed Peggy's. Every time we passed a billboard for Peggy's Diner, we all went, "Hello, Peggy. Goodbye, Peggy," because we were so fucking
Fair.
freaked out.
So I'm going to end this with the fact that I was doing these notes. And while I was doing these notes, not only did I get an aggressive migraine because
shit.
I get my notes from copy and pasting notes from Google, as we all know, which means I just see a lot of pictures of Peggy. And I don't know if it was
shit.
placeboed. I don't know if I primed myself. I
Or
don't
if
know.
those paranormal sites have like a lot of like 90s flashing.
Who
going
knows?
on.
I had a crazy migraine. I felt sick to my stomach, to be honest. And I usually I read a lot of stuff and nothing ever really makes me nauseous. And so I don't know if just by reading this subliminally, I got really nauseous.
Sure.
But I was like, okay, that's weird. And so I had just finished my notes, went to bed, and I experienced my first sleep paralysis.
No! Sorry, that was so loud. But what we just talked about in the listener episode, how you literally said, "I pray I never get sleep paralysis."
So I didn't have it nearly as bad as anyone has ever had it. So I'm very lucky in my experience.
Mine have always been mild too, knock on wood. What happened?
I woke up. I dreamt. I don't remember the exact story, but I know that I thought I was walking around. I thought I was walking around. I could see a doll in the corner of my eye
Hold on.
the entire time, just staring at me. I tried to run, and then I ended up like doing that thing where I thought I was awake, but I was actually still dreaming. And I was lying next to Allison.
Oh,
I was
God.
sleeping next to Allison.
Oh my God.
And I felt like something pressing against me
No, this is worse.
while I
than,
was lying in bed.
worse than mine.
Then I actually like knew what must be going on. I knew that like, cause I could, and the whole time that this is happening, which is the exact story from the previous owner that sent the doll to Jane, that even though she never saw the doll in the dream, the entire time, all she could hear was
like,
Peggy's
think
name.
about the-
All I did
fuck!
the entire time was think about Peggy the doll.
And then you still had the guts to do this story?
And then I fucking, like, in my dream, all I could do was think about the doll. And then I was lying down next to Allison. I actually had woken up at this point, and I knew I was awake. I could not open my eyes to save
frozen.
me. I was frozen.
Oh, fuck.
I knew in my gut it was 3 a.m. I knew it was. I didn't even have to check. I knew it fucking was.
Good, good.
And I could not move, and I remember trying to open my mouth to scream for Allison to wake me up.
Em, what the fuck?
And here's the creepiest part. Like, when I finally woke up and got my eyes to open, because I didn't see anything, just to prepare everyone. I didn't see anything because I was facing the wall that does not have my door. So I was, like, facing,
Thank
like,
God, thank
my
God,
wall.
thank God.
But I remember waking up, and I was sleeping next to Allison. I had my eyes open, but I couldn't say anything.
Right.
And I remember telling myself to just close my eyes because I was like, I've heard a million stories.
You gotta that's what I do
I was
too.
like, I know I'm just supposed to close my eyes, so I'm just going to
you don't
close my
see
eyes.
anything.
But I'm also like, I'm actually awake in real life now. I'm not having a
Yeah.
So I was like, just in case I'm dreaming and I don't know it, I'm just going to keep my eyes closed, but I know I'm coherent right now. For some reason, I can't move my fucking body,
Yeah.
but I know I'm coherent. I know I'm awake. I know Allison's right next to me. I was like trying to tap her. And the creepiest part was that every single night, out of OCD, so without fail, I always lock my bedroom door before I go to bed. And as I'm lying next to Allison and I'm looking at the wall that is not facing the door, I hear the door creak open.
Stop it. Stop it.
And I literally just chanted the Lord's Prayer until I fell asleep.
Stop it.
I just chanted the Lord's Prayer. And then I woke up the next day and told Allison, and she went, whoa. And I was like, fuck you!
That's what happened when I had sleep paralysis, and I literally was like awake, and it was 11 a.m. and I was like, I guarantee I'm gonna see his fucking like hag or whatever you're supposed to see. So I was like, I'm just gonna close my eyes and wait. And Gio
Yep.
was on my bed walking around, and I was like, I'm frozen, I cannot move.
Yeah.
And thankfully it was the middle of the day, but That's what I always thought was like, if you close your eyes, nothing can happen. But like hearing your fucking door open
That I know is locked.
is beyond.
And then after I woke up, I turned over and the door was still open.
It was open.
It was
Mother
open.
fucking hell.
So anyway.
And why? Why would you do this? Why would you do this to us?
I'm not saying Peggy, I'm not, for all I know, it's the placebo effect, but also that shit has never fucking happened before, and now it's happened.
And it's not like you're studying. Like when I first, so I only had sleep paralysis twice. And when I did have it, it was because I was like heavily reading about it and studying it and researching it. And it was like on my brain.
I actively don't think about it.
Right. And it
because
wasn't
I
like
don't
you
wanna
were
think about it.
researching that. It was like you were researching an adjacent topic. Oh, it's so creepy. Em, I'm sorry. That's awful. What night was this? Monday? Tuesday?
Yeah, Monday night. Fuck. And just to, this is a kind of a sharp left turn, but I, at the same time, in the same vein, would like to give you a Deirdre update about the ghost in her house.
Oh, I want a Deirdre update.
So I know this is kind of like a totally different direction, but also the same direction, in that anyone who's been keeping up knows that Deirdre's house is crazy haunted.
And you've experienced stuff there too.
Yeah, the poltergeist.
Poltergroping.
So all we know, and just to give you guys an update, or just to give you like a little backstory if you're new, is that my best friend Deirdre, she lives in a house in DC. There has been something in her room that only pays attention to her room and nobody else, and she lives in a house with like 5 or 6 other people.
Cute.
Nobody else ever experiences anything. The main thing she experiences is someone knocking on her door to be let inside, and she always thought it was one of her roommates, so she just opened the door and no one would be there. Eventually the knocking got wildly loud, like obvious someone's knocking on the door. She couldn't be mistaking it. Would open the door, no one was there. When I spent the night, someone grabbed me, and I thought it was Deirdre joking with me.
Like someone grabbed your butt, right?
Yeah, but also Deirdre would absolutely grab my butt. To be
Right, so
funny. And so like I was like, nice move, Deirdre, and then she was on the other side of the bed.
And she's like, what the fuck
And
are
she
you
was like,
talking
what are you talking about? And I said, someone grabbed me, and she was like, oh yeah, there's a ghost here, by the way.
Shining the flashlight, and you're like, I feel someone touching my butt, and there's nobody touching my butt.
As the light is on the butt, I still felt pressure, and then I felt a release as I was looking at it happen.
See, that's wild.
So anyway, so she's experienced some things, and it's just gotten really creepy, and basically she's moving out right now, moved her bed, and there is a body decomposition stain on the floor.
Wait, underneath her bed?
Yeah.
What? What do you mean?
Like on the hardwood floor,
whoa,
there
whoa,
are
whoa.
like the body oils of decomp.
What does that mean?
Like, have you seen like a body stain on a floor?
But does that mean that someone died there? Or like this is a weird like?
No, like someone died in her room.
And was there a bed? Like, how did she not see that when she moved in?
I think there was a rug when she first got there.
What?
So
So okay, wow. I don't know what to do with this information. I'm sorry. I'm so overwhelmed. Wait,
And so Deirdre and I have both had really rough weeks.
she just found a fucking decomp outline underneath her bed.
Yeah.
Of a dead body.
Yeah, and she was like, thank God, like, I found this as I'm moving out. So anyway, that would explain why only her room has experienced this shit.
And has someone being like, let me into my room.
And someone was like touching me in bed because it was where their bed used to be. Well, maybe not because their body was there. Unless they died under their bed. I don't know what's going on. None of it's funny. It's just all bad.
What the actual hell?
So, sharp left turn, but also like a quick right turn back. So, there's all that.
I'm gonna sue you tomorrow.
Yeah, nobody sue me. I gave you content warnings in the beginning. So
Yeah, I'm gonna sue you anyway because you forced me into this room to listen to this shit.
Yeah, you have the right, and Eva has the right.
I like wine a lot.
Oh my god.
And I just want to tell you about First Leaf again.
Okay, go
First
ahead.
Leaf is the only online wine club that uses your ratings, my ratings, to make personalized wine selections match to my tastes and yours also.
Well, of course, if one were to drink.
To one's tastes.
Yes, When it comes to buying wine, most of our choices are made out of habit. Christine, can you confirm?
A lot of habits involved. It's not my fault.
We don't remember how we found our favorites. We just know that when we're at the checkout, those same brands and bottles are in the cart week after week.
That's right.
So First Leaf is a new online wine club that's putting a stop to boring wine buying by helping you discover your new favorite wines. Every shipment is curated to your taste based on your ratings of the wines.
So I started by answering 3 quick questions about my wine drinking preferences. I'm going to be honest, I was hoping there were more. I was like, I can talk about this all day. And they only...
Were you hoping First Leaf also like accidentally sent you 4 more shipments?
I mean...
All at one time.
Yeah, I don't know why I even need to answer that, but yes. Then they created an introductory 3-pack of wine for me based on my flavor profile, which I felt also really fancy that I got my own flavor profile. And the best part is you get all 3 for just $5 each, and the wines themselves go for about $20 a piece, so it was a really awesome deal.
And with First Leaf, you never have to worry about spending money on a bad bottle of wine because they guarantee you'll love the wine you buy or they'll give you your money back. So either you get money or you get wine. So
That's correct. You can't lose. You literally can't lose. And when the bottles arrive, you take your ratings, you select new wines for the next shipment, and it kind of just goes on, and it's the best possible subscription I've ever been a part of.
So sign up with our personal link and you'll get an exclusive intro offer. It's 3 bottles of wine for only $15. That's $5 a bottle.
Plus free shipping, guys.
Plus free shipping.
That's not all. If you rate these 3 wines, you'll get an extra $10 off your next box.
Just go to tryfirstleaf.com/drink.
That's tryfirstleaf.com/drink. Today's episode of And That's Why We Drink is sponsored by Skillshare.
Skillshare is an online learning platform with over 20,000 classes in business, design, technology, and more.
And there's a lot more. I one time just scrolled and was
it just goes forever.
Check. I want to take this and this and this.
You can take classes in social media marketing, data science, mobile photography, creative writing, you name it, they've got it.
So whether you're trying to deepen your professional skill set, start a side hustle, or just explore a new passion, Skillshare is there to keep you learning and thriving.
I know one of my big things that I'm trying to get better at is web design and graphic design in general. So, they have like so much in just that category alone. So I can't imagine if I had more than one interest. Can you believe it?
You
I'd be
can
on
truly
Skillshare
take
forever.
like months of just that. Because I've been looking at Photoshop. It's just like, you don't even know where to begin. You just got to kind of dive in.
Yep.
So you guys, if you want to join us and the millions of students already learning on Skillshare today with a special offer, please do. You can get 2 months of Skillshare for just 99 cents.
Oh my God.
I know. That's right. Skillshare is offering, and that's why we drink listeners 2 months of unlimited access to over 20,000 classes for just 99 cents.
To sign up, go to Skillshare.com/drink.
Again, go to Skillshare.com/drink to start your 2 months now.
That's Skillshare.com/drink.
Oh, I thought I was going to go high that time.
Drink.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, yeah,
sorry.
1, 2, 3. Drink. Do it again. Drink.
Oh, we're good.
Even keep that in. Buckets. Drops of Jupiter.
Drops of Jupiter in her hair. We just put some ads in there, and also we just spent the last 45 minutes talking about our mothers. So
and complaining that Allison's wrong. We don't ever just powwow.
No, we don't ever do anything but do the podcast.
Exactly.
Allison's downstairs waiting. This is the story. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm very excited about this one. This is loosely Vegas related, but it
Kansas City Butcher?
kind of spun out. No, please, no, I cannot do that.
Okay, then I don't know.
It's just like a loosely Vegas related story. This is the story of Mary Vincent. And actually, I was on the And That's Why We Drink subreddit, which, by the way, everybody should go check out. I think it's called ATWWD Podcast on Reddit. And I am a crazy person who sometimes trolls the site. And everyone's just so, like, fun and nice and sometimes post pictures of Geo and, like, drawings of Geo. And, like, mostly I just look at the Geo stuff. But there's also, like, people throw out suggestions or, like, what episode should I start on? And people, like, compare episodes. It's really fun and really positive. So check it out. So this actually someone tagged, of course I went in and fucking commented on something with my like secret username and they were like,
I can't stand you.
This is Christine.
Now everyone knows that one of the names is fake.
It's a Fall Out Boy reference. So
Jesus.
Obviously everyone was like, hi Christine. And then someone tagged me in a post on like a, it was like a true crime subreddit and it was like, what are some crazy stories that are real, that are true crime? And someone tagged me and said like, hey, Christine, you should check this out. And I was like, oh, I know this one. And hell yeah, I'm going to do this week. So this is the story of Mary Vincent. I got a lot of this information from a website called mamamia.au.
Well, that's probably what you say after. Like,
Mamma Mia.
You're like, Mamma Mia.
Indeed. And an episode of Once Upon a Crime, which is a podcast that I've recently gotten into.
Okay.
Well, let's just go. Do you know the story at all? Mm-mm. Okay, fantastic. So Mary Vincent grew up in Las Vegas.
Okay.
That's the only title, Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You're welcome.
Really? Got it. Okay.
In the late 60s, early 70s, as the middle child of 7 kids in a military family, she had a rebellious streak, was kind of struggling at home. When she was 15, her sister basically said, Dad has a migraine and he's coming home and he's pissed at you. And so she said for her own safety and her own life, she just kind of took off. She ran away for a short period of time, kind of lived like... She spent a few days like living under like park benches. Like she lived with her uncle for a couple days. And then after a few days, she basically was like, I feel homesick. I want to go home. Like I needed to get away for a few days, but this is not what I want to be doing. So she decided to head back to Las Vegas to go home to her family. So on the morning of September 29th, 1978, Mary decides to hitchhike her way back from California to her family in Nevada. She's standing on the side of the road with 2 other hitchhikers, and they're holding the same signs that basically say, like, heading south. And they're in Modesto, California, when a man drives up in an empty van. So they look in, the van is empty. There's 1 bag in there, but it's like pretty empty. But he says, I only have room for one of you. And it's for you. It's for the girl. It's for Mary. And the other hitchhikers are like, yo, this is sketchy. Like, don't get in.
Right.
We'll wait. Someone else will come along. And she's like, to be honest, like, I just wanted to go home. I'm exhausted. It's been a long couple days. All I want to do is go home. It's getting dark. So she hops in the car. The man who picked her up, his name is Larry Singleton. He's a 51-year-old merchant mariner with blue overalls, a bulging stomach, and a flat, bulbous nose.
Huh.
Hot.
Flat and bulbous. Interesting.
Like, it's literally, like, flat and then just, like...
Oh, I see.
Big and...
Bulbous on the sides. Flat on the front.
Bulbous. So almost right away, things get weird. So at one point, Mary sneezes, and this guy, Larry, reaches over to feel her neck.
Nope.
And ask if she's sick.
Woof.
And so she, like, pulls herself away and is clearly like, whoa.
I'd be like,
literally, I have
spit in his eyes.
Diseases.
I have the flu.
And now you have them too. Right. So she's like, she makes it clear, like, whoa, I'm not interested. I'm 15. Right. Don't touch me. And he's like, oh, okay, sorry. And leaves her alone. So she's exhausted, but she realizes he's a creep, but she's exhausted. And she's like, you know what? He's like kind of a tubby grandpa type. He says he has a 15-year-old daughter, like, who's my age.
Okay.
She's like, whatever. He's not like a huge threat. And so he kind of leaves her alone. She's like, all right, we'll just keep an eye on it. So then she falls asleep.
Problem.
When she wakes up, she realizes they've been driving east, not west toward Los Angeles. So she sees
goodbye.
The highway signs, and she's like, we are not going the right direction. So, smart girl, she grabs a sharp object from the floor of the car, brandishes it at him, and demands an explanation. And he immediately apologizes. He says, quote, I'm an honest man who made a mistake. I'm not going to hurt you. Completely freaked out by her, like, brandishing this sharp object at him. So he actually does turn the car around. She's like, this is not the right direction. He's like, okay, sorry, I made a mistake. Turns the car around, is going the right direction. She's like, all right, let's her car done. A little while later, Larry pulls over and says he has to relieve himself. So he pulls off. He says he can't wait till the next town. He has to do it now. So Mary at this point is like, things are not great. I feel like I'm maybe in trouble. And she realizes, like, now's a good chance to run away.
Right.
So she is about to get out of the car. She looks down, realizes her shoe is untied. She's like, if I want to outrun this guy, I gotta, like, tie my shoe first. So
I already hate this.
She opens the passenger door, bends down to tie her shoe. Next thing she knows, as she's bending down, Larry picks a sledgehammer, bashes her in the back of the head with the sledgehammer, and she's out. When she wakes up a while later, she's in the back of the van. She's tied up. Larry forces her to perform oral sex on him, but that's not enough, so he rapes her 6 times throughout the rest of the night. She's there all night, tied up, only stopping to force her to drink alcohol from a milk jug, which...
That's just its own type of gross.
Which is its own fucking nasty shit. When he falls asleep, she still can't escape because she's bound so tightly that she's just...
And fucking hit in the head with a sledgehammer.
But she's, like, trying to escape, but she's tied so tightly.
Right.
Yeah, so she, like...
I mean, just, like, it's multiple reasons.
Oh, yeah. So she just can't get out, and she's obviously injured and is stuck. So he, wakes up and comes in and out of sleep, and she keeps pleading with him, just set me free, over and over again. She says she won't tell if he'll just set me free. Hours later, Larry finally unties her. He gets out of the truck, and she's, like, finally free from her binds, and he grabs a hatchet. And he says to her, you want to be free? I'll set you free. And he starts swinging the hatchet at her. He first hits her left arm and completely severs it at the elbow. She realizes her arm is missing. There's just blood coming out, and she's like, I feel everything. she notices her arm is missing and she's bleeding profusely. So she grabs him with her other arm to steady herself, then starts just kicking and screaming and trying to fight him off, right? All of a sudden she starts falling backwards and she's like, how is this possible? And then she kind of like through a haze looks up at him and realizes he's severed her right arm, but it's still holding onto his arm. Like her arm is still...
So he severed both arms.
Yeah.
And she realized she was falling back. And as she's falling back, she sees that the arm she thought she was grabbing on is separated from her body.
He's like she sees him flinging his arm around. And she's like, what, like kind of in a haze. And she realizes her right arm is... the muscles contracted and are like grasping onto his arm. Yeah, exactly. And is severed from her body. So she's on the ground now, no arms. And he's trying to fling the other arm off of his own arm. So
I hear what's happening. Okay.
Yeah. So she's bleeding profusely. She basically said, I felt everything. I was aware of everything.
Fuck.
After the attack, Mary is still conscious, but she's completely limp, obviously, just like completely out of it. And Larry thinks she's dead. So he starts dragging her body.
How is she? Oh, by the way, how is she with that blood loss? How is she? Okay, that's just a miracle on its own.
Yeah, so she's still alive.
Okay.
And still conscious. That's the wild thing. Like,
oh my God.
Like you'd think your body would be like, bye, and shut down.
My body would. I would allow that.
Oh, for sure.
I'd be like, okay, let's kick the bucket here.
I mean, the second I'm in a car and I'm like, I'm uncomfortable, I feel like my body's like, peace.
Yeah.
We're
like,
out of here.
We are now disassociating.
We don't
it's fine.
want anything to do with this. Right. So she is still conscious, but she's completely still and he thinks she's dead. So he begins to drag her body through the dirt. He drags her to the edge of a cliff. He says, I'll set you free. And then he tosses her over the edge of the cliff, 30 feet to the bottom. She falls down the edge of the cliff, breaks 4 ribs on the way down. And remember, she doesn't have arms to stop her fall.
Oh, no.
So she breaks 4 ribs. And when she hits the bottom, Larry's still not done. He climbs down to the bottom of the embankment, drags her body to a nearby cave to hide it, and then just leaves her there stranded.
Okay, here's a question, though. How did he know the cave was there?
No, he just wandered around. He saw like
I was like, does he just like do this often?
I think it was more like he just went down there to be like, okay, she's too visible.
Got it. Okay.
And then kind of dragged her to somewhere that was
and
more...
then found a cave.
More hidden, like
I hear you.
Some sort of brush or something.
I mean, it's not important.
Dragged her under it. So she's down there. It's nighttime. And basically, she's lying there and... all she wants to do is fall asleep. It's night. She's fucking losing blood. She's like been through the most torturous night of her life. And she suddenly hears a voice that she says comes from outside of her and inside of her all at once. She hears a voice that says, get up and get help or someone else will die.
Oh.
And she basically hears, this isn't it's almost like this isn't for you. This is for any other woman that he could do this to.
Right.
So she
like,
basically
stop it
said,
now.
Yeah, she basically said, it's on you to, like, fix this before it happens to someone else.
It's like, wow, no pressure. Like, I've already had just the fucking worst time. Sure.
And she said, like, she thinks it's her conscience being like, stay awake, stay awake, stay awake.
Right,
like,
maybe like high adrenaline.
Yeah, like one way to stay awake instead of being like, because she said my own self wanted to just go to sleep and die and just...
Right.
But she's like... I mean, this is just conjecture on my part, but I feel like it was a way of being like, of her
keeping herself up and keeping
being
herself
like,
alive.
well, this isn't about you; it's about someone else, and it drove her to stay awake and get up. So obviously, all she wants to do is drift off, go to sleep, but she manages to pull herself up, stay awake. She rolls her elbows where her arms had been severed in the mud to pack the wounds.
Okay, I mean,
smart.
Okay.
To stem the bleeding, because
no, I get it. I'm just thinking like that's some MacGyver shit that I wouldn't have.
Oh, completely, yeah.
Would have not thought to do that.
So she sees mud and she's like, okay, I'll just pack the wounds with mud and it'll stem the bleeding while I try to. Cause she's
my
just
thought would be like, oh, the mud would be like would dirty it and like make it more like infected. I know that's like in my head I'd be like, oh, avoid mud. I'd do the exact opposite.
Be dead so fast.
Yeah, I would just so be dead.
But yeah, so she literally said at one point, like, the blood is just oozing out of her body. And she's like, I knew how much I was losing blood. And it was, like, contributing to, like, losing consciousness.
Right.
So she is like, I need to stop the blood loss. And she doesn't have arms. Right, so she just, like, shoves them in the mud to stop the bleeding. And then she hauls herself up the cliff. Takes her all night to get up this fucking cliff.
without arms.
Yeah, she drags herself up this cliff.
Jesus.
She hears the sound of traffic in the distance, and she's like, I just need to get to the sound of traffic. Once she gets to the roadway, she begins to walk upright on her legs with her arms raised so that the muscles and blood wouldn't fall out of her wounds.
God.
So she's walking with like half her arms, whatever's left of them. And remember, she's completely nude because she's been sexually assaulted numerous times. So she's completely nude. Her arms have been cut off, drenched in blood and mud and dirt, is just wandering along the side of the highway with her arms up in the air so that she can like stem the bleeding. She walked 3 miles along the roadway in search of help. The first car she encounters is a red convertible with 2 men inside, and when she called to them, they sped off in fear.
I mean, I know this is really fucked up, but imagine like a bloody, dirty, naked woman without arms.
She said she could never blame them because she looked like something out of a horror movie.
Yeah.
Walking covered in blood and dirt. Yeah, truly.
Yeah,
She
and, like,
literally
her arms
said...
have been chopped off and she's naked. And...
Yeah, she literally said, like, of course they sped away in fear. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Fortunately, the next car she encountered was a couple on their honeymoon who had just so happened to take the wrong exit. So she's walking miles before she sees any cars. This couple just happened to take the wrong exit. They saw her, immediately stopped, and all she could say to them was, "He raped me." So they wrapped her in towels, placed her in the back of the car, and then sped to a phone to call paramedics. After that, she was airlifted to a hospital because she had lost too much blood to
right, of course,
wait for an ambulance. It turns out she had lost half the blood in her entire body, and what was left had become toxic. But since
because of the dirt?
No,
just because I just wanted to be right scientifically. I was like, I knew it.
Just because she was so low on blood.
No, that makes sense.
It just wasn't enough to sustain her technically. But
how is a person alive with half of their blood gone? That is a true miracle.
It turns out she was just like young and healthy enough to like, and she said my will to survive was just so strong that she was like, I don't fucking care. Like,
jeez,
I will make it. So at the hospital, Mary was able to give a detailed description of Larry Singleton. The composite sketch was so realistic that Larry's neighbor recognized him immediately and called the police. So he's arrested pretty much immediately after this happens. And that following March in 1979, a couple months later, he's sentenced to 14 years in prison.
And that's all.
Which is the maximum sentence allowed at the time for kidnapping, attempted murder, forcible rape, sodomy, forced oral copulation, and, quote, mayhem.
But, like, taking someone's arms off? That's mayhem? Oh, my God.
Mayhem. I don't know what mayhem is, but you got to get more than 14 years for some mayhem. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And the judge at the time said I would put him in jail for the rest of my life if the justice system allowed it. So it wasn't like the judge's fault or anything. It was just the way the legal system was set up. It's the 70s. So mayhem. And the judge basically was like, if it were up to me, he would have been there for the rest of his life.
Got it.
There's nothing he can do. Mary herself was there at the trial. She, meanwhile, had been fitted with prosthetics and was like trying to live her new life with them. She had to testify against Larry. During the trial, she was so scared and traumatized that she could hardly look at him. Obviously.
Right.
But meanwhile, he claimed during the trial that Mary was a, quote, $10 a night whore and that he had not done anything to her. In fact, he blamed anything that may have happened to her on another person he claimed was also in the car, who happened to also be named Larry.
Uh-huh.
So basically, he invented another fucking hitchhiker.
So he created his own doppelganger.
Who's named after him.
Couldn't even pick, like, Gary.
This Once Upon a Crime, I listened to the Once Upon a Crime episode, and she's like, that's the most Freudian bullshit I ever heard. Like,
talk about a fucking ego.
Oh, his name was Larry. Like, what
his name is Barry. Oh, just kidding. It's my name. It's
right. Ego, exactly. It's like you can't even admit that it was somebody different enough to lie about. Like,
Larry is literally a name you can rhyme with almost any. Like Terry,
Harry Potter,
Perry,
exactly.
Sherry. I'm gonna stop. But like, my point is proven.
Mary is her name. Dun dun dun.
So many opportunities.
Listen, let's rhyme.
Well, done.
Okay. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba. So he's like, oh no, Larry did that. And they're like, you're Larry. He's like, no, the other Larry. Like, truly so psychotic, so nuts. And then, so she testifies against him, is just completely terrified. And he's calling her whore and like, it's her fault, da-da-da. As she's leaving the courthouse, she has to pass him inches away from his body. Like, she has to walk past him, and she's like still, 16 years old, 15 years old, and she's like walking past him. And as she passes, he whispers, "If it's the last thing I do, I'll finish the job." And she just goes completely white and just runs out of the courtroom and is like, "I can't do this." So she runs out. And at this point, Mary begins the long task of recovery. She moves back in with her parents, really struggling. A lot of her old friends are, kind of treating her weird and different. So she's lost a lot of relationships and friends. She feels obviously isolated, depressed, like she's going through trauma. I don't want to make any assumptions, but it's like the late 1970s. I imagine maybe the mental health system is not as up to par as maybe it is today. But yeah, so she's really, really struggling. She's just living with her parents. She later said her parents really weren't great at helping her cope with this. So Larry, meanwhile, like I said, was sentenced to 14 years. But guess what? He only served 8 because
fucking A.
He had good behavior in prison. He was a model prisoner. So that's good for him. Yeah. So let's let that sink in. And then Mary, meanwhile, during those 8 years, had moved away to live, like, she wanted to just get away from everything. So she lived an isolated life away from the press. But when Larry got out on parole, she kind of like snapped and reached this new level of fear that she had been living with. She became anorexic. She had trouble leaving the house. Her relationships with her friends and family were in shambles. The only news about this is that when he did get out on parole, nobody would let him move to their town.
Well,
so
good.
Every single town in California would protest. So they protested left and right. They rioted. They stopped him from joining society. They called him out they called the police out. They called him out. In every town the police tried to
neighborhood watch
the jail
or something?
system. I don't know. Whoever tried to place him in a new parole, they wouldn't let him. It was so bad actually that they had to actually set up a trailer on the grounds of San Quentin prison for him to live on during his parole, because anywhere else towns just wouldn't let him be a part of their society.
Wow.
So
how come we all can't just get together and stand up like that for every single person who deserves that?
Exactly.
I don't understand.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, he's on parole. He cannot live anywhere because no one will let him move in, which is amazing because it's, again, like the 80s.
Yeah.
And like nowadays, you got the internet to propagate
We should really be able to do it now.
Exactly.
And for some reason, that's not happening.
No, exactly. So he had to live on the grounds of the prison to even fulfill his parole. And he had like a mandatory security assignment, which kind of sucks because it's like these people are doing security for him to protect him, and it's like he's just such a garbage human. So he still claimed this entire time that he was innocent. He had nothing to do with Mary's rape and mutilation. It was the other Larry's fault, obviously. But guess what? It gets worse. Larry decides to fucking sue Mary.
Why?
He says he remembers Mary threatening to accuse him of rape and that she had brandished a sharp stick at him in the car. He decides that's the reason he had become violent and that he had been mistreated by the court. So he filed a complaint suing Mary for forcible kidnap for the purposes of robbery.
So in a state where every single person has defended this girl, he thinks that now
he's going to sue.
He's going to sue and they're all going to be on his side all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah. He's going to get some compensation out of it. Of course, he says this is extremely difficult for him because he has such sympathy for Mary.
Yeah, huh?
Yeah, he says this is so hard. He says after filing this suit against Mary, he didn't sleep for several nights and he kept vomiting because he was just so sympathetic toward her cause. But he just knew like it had affected his life so much that he needed to go through with this. So he basically played it as like, oh, this poor woman, but she really ruined my life.
Eva, play the world's smallest violin.
Oh, there she goes. There it is. Isn't that beautiful, my
friends?
friends?
You can really almost hear the high pitchness of it.
Are we all crying? Yes, on his behalf. Obviously, that never gained any fucking traction. Mm-hmm. And they were like, literally, go fuck yourself. So I also want to add here, I mentioned earlier that he said he had a daughter. He did have a daughter, same age as Mary. Her name was Deborah, and she was also terrified of her own father. She spoke at length about the nature of her father, what he was like as a dad. When she found out he was getting out on parole, she fled and hid, and she asked law enforcement if there was any way they could keep him behind bars for longer. And they basically said, okay, so this is her quote of how the situation went down when she asked law enforcement to keep him behind bars. Quote, I asked California prison personnel what could be done to keep him in longer, and I was told there was nothing. They suggested I obtain a restraining order at the time of his release. Sorry, but I mean this quite sarcastically. I tell you he is a danger. I said that before the first crime. I've changed my name multiple times and I'm moving across state lines. And you all suggest a piece of paper that will tell him exactly where I am, what my name is, and not to come within, say, 300 feet of me. So basically, his own daughter, who's the same age, is like, literally keep him in fucking jail. He's a danger to me and to everyone else. So he's paroled anyway. And obviously California has proved unwelcoming to his reintroduction to society.
Good.
So Larry decides he's going to go back to his home state of Florida.
Oh, I hope Florida did the same thing.
Sort of. So at first he gets there. People aren't happy. A car dealership in the area even offered him $5,000 to leave the state. And there's also so he's staying at his brother's place for a while. And there's a firebomb that goes off in his brother's front yard. It doesn't hurt anybody. But beyond that, he moved to like a smaller town, settled in a small community. They don't really know about him. And he kind of gets by. Everybody just kind of thinks he's like a quirky older guy. Mm-hmm. In 1997, which is almost 20 years after his attack on Mary, a neighbor was in front of his home in front of Larry's home, like he's coming up to ring the doorbell or something. He sees Larry beating a young woman in the living room, and she's screaming and crying for help. So he obviously runs to call the police. When the police arrive, Larry opens the door shirtless, covered in blood. He claims he cut himself while chopping some fruit. And they're like, what? Then the phone rings inside Larry's house. He goes, hold on, I have to go get the phone. He goes to answer the phone. While he goes to answer the phone, the police peek inside the door and they see the body of 31-year-old mother of three, Roxanne Hayes.
Oh my God.
On the floor of his living room.
Dead?
She's dead.
Oh, fuck.
She was a sex worker in the area that Larry had lured to his home while she was grocery shopping. And then he had stabbed her numerous times in the face and upper body.
Oh my God.
And this time they were like, we're not letting you get away with this. He actually murdered someone this time. So the state of Florida actually flew Mary down to testify for the second time against Larry. So, she's already gone through like the traumatic experience of testifying the first time. Now he's murdered someone, so they bring her down again. She didn't flinch when asked to identify him, but she said she couldn't look deeply at him either. She said, I wanted to see his eyes. Eyes are important. When he was on top of me, I was looking at the axe, trying to stay alive. I asked later if I could look him in the eye, but he didn't let me. So she said, I wanted to look him in the eye at this trial, but only briefly. He's convicted of murder, sentenced to the death penalty, but only 3 years later, in 2001, he dies of cancer in prison. So Mary's on an episode of I Survived, and she says she actually didn't really feel relief when Larry dies because she said all she wanted to know what was in his soul, like what was possessing him to be this way.
Yeah.
And she said she felt robbed of that opportunity. But then she had 2 sons at this point, and she said she saw the relief on her sons' faces, who were like really young.
That's so sad.
Which just makes me very emotional. But she says she saw the relief on her sons' faces, and that made her realize that was enough closure for her, that they felt safe and they felt that she was safe. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the good news is, if there is any, that the outrage about her trial and his like short sentence changed sentencing laws in California, and if this had happened currently, he'd be in prison for at least 31 years, which would have saved Roxanne's life. Obviously too late for her, but at least, it changed for future instances of first-degree rape. And as for Mary Vincent, when she was younger, her dream was to be a dancer someday, but when her arms were cut off and then like reconstructed, they had to use pieces of her leg muscles to rebuild her arms, so she lost a lot of strength in her legs. She struggled for many, many years with depression due to trauma, obviously. But she did have 2 sons, like I mentioned, and was very happy about having her own family. I guess she mentioned at one point that when she was 4 years old and a friend asked her what she wanted to do someday, she said, I want to be mother to the whole world, which just made me like...
That's so sad.
It just made me really happy. And so
I just corrected. It is very happy, but it's also just like sad, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. So she was able to like start her own family, which is great. And then her family kind of became her life. She like had birds for a while and like random pets. She also began to paint and draw and sketch, which brought her a lot of joy. Some of her works are now valued at least $2,000, but she still has nightmares. She says she's still afraid to go to sleep and can't sleep very long. She says, quote, "I've broken bones thanks to my nightmares. I've jumped up and dislocated my shoulder.
Oh my God.
Just trying to get out of bed. I've cracked ribs and smashed my nose. Every day I pray to God to make a space I can breathe in, and every day God gives it to me."
Oh my gosh.
That's the story of Mary Vincent.
All right. Very heavy topic.
That was a heavy episode, man.
That was a lot. Good luck, Eva, having to edit that.
Wowza.
It's such a sad story.
It is, but she survived.
That's true.
She's on an episode of I Survived. It's very good. Very crazy. It's just like unsettled. It's like so deeply unsettling to have her
in
be
several
like,
ways. In several ways.
actually in the episode, she is like talking and you see like her shoulders up and she's telling the story. And then when she starts to talk about like, he severed my arm, she brings a tissue to her face and she has like the hook on her arm, like as like her arm. And it's just the most like, they clearly, like the producers were like, let's leave that out until she brings it up.
Right.
And it's just the most like
gut-wrenching,
powerful moment of like, oh my God, they just made her look so like normal. Like, and then I survived. And she like has this like hand with, it literally is a hook. And I guess she had like she used like a very cheap, like kind of literally like a hook for a hand for like for both her hands for like a long time. And she said she likes to fidget and tinker, so she's kind of worked on it over the years to like be more active, but it's been kind of a very basic level of like
right
prosthetic. It's just a very powerful episode, so if anybody wants to watch it, I highly recommend it. And it's also just really cool to see people who've like gone through trauma talk about it in such a like
powerful way,
like open way. Yeah
in an owning it way.
Yeah, exactly.
I want a geoscope. Give it to me.
Okay, here you go, Scorpio. There's tension in the air today, Scorpio. Even though it isn't your doing, you may want to keep a low profile, especially if you have work to do. Obviously, Gio has a lot of fucking...
I mean, Gio's pretty busy.
Try to avoid discussions with other people. I mean,
that would make sense why he was so dodgy today when I got here.
Gio avoids discussions with other people, including you, at every day of the year.
That is not true.
Okay.
I refuse to believe it.
Just because someone is confrontational, like Em, doesn't mean you have to rise to the bait. It would be better if you didn't.
But he does anyway. Sometimes.
Keep to yourself and all of this will blow over by tomorrow when it will be safe to mingle with your friends again.
What, Juniper? Because I'll be gone.
Oh, that's fun.
Did he enjoy being boarded for several days?
No, he really did. Well, I think I was kind of freaked out.
Christine had a mental breakdown as a mother.
I did, because I was like really struggling to leave him because he was so excited to go to daycare. And then I was like, I'm not picking you up for 3 days. But today I brought him back to daycare to the same place and he was just super excited to go. So I felt like I didn't traumatize him as much as I may have thought.
Oh, so happy.
And they post little photos of him on Instagram and
Aww.
it makes me happy.
That's heartwarming.
Yeah. Oh, apparently his August horoscope. If you're a Scorpio, watch your temper.
Uh-oh.
Don't let anyone push any of your buttons because they will try.
No, I won't.
Don't
Not
you
the Geminis in your life. Not the Geminis in your life.
Oh my God. There may be some solar friction.
Oh no.
Mercury goes stationary on the 18th.
Does it say anything about Jupiter?
Oh no, there's a full moon on the 26th. I don't see anything about Jupiter.
Speaking of the 26th of August, that will be our Facebook Live.
Oh, sure. Okay.
This week.
Fabulous.
This month.
August 26th, Facebook Live.
3 p.m. on a Sunday, 3 p.m. PST.
I'm putting it in now.
And catch us there. And
also, we just had our Nashville show, so I hope you guys had fun if you were there.
Yeah. Only time will tell on this end.
Our next show's in LA. By now, we've announced... Oh, no. We're announcing in 2 days, Monday. Look for dates. We're announcing dates on Monday.
Woohoo!
New cities. Check it out. Tomorrow.
Okay, so tomorrow. Get ready. Get hyped.
Get ready.
Fingers crossed that we're in your area. And if not, still fly to see us.
Please.
Please, please, please.
All right.
And you can... Oh, no. What?
Yeah,
what?
tell us.
Yep.
I have to pee. Hurry up.
Oh. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and Patreon at ATWWD Podcast. Please donate. You don't realize how helpful that is, and we've been able to do so much because of that. So thank you.
Thank you.
You can also find our website, and that's why we drink.com. You can find our merch at and that's why we drink.bigcartel.com. You can email us and that's why we drink at gmail.com, where you can send in your personal listeners. Your personal true crime and paranormal stories, because we put out a new listeners episode at the first of every month. Our Facebook Live is August 26th at 3 p.m. PST. And we have a live show in September at the Hollywood Improv.
Yes.
September 23rd. So please go get tickets. Is the link already available? Right?
It's on our website.
So please come to that. And
other shows being announced soon. Check it out.
Yep. Okay, go.
And
that's
why
we
drink.
Okay.
Bye.